There's the old saying that a change is as good as a rest, so with all their Premier League problems, perhaps a return to Champions League action will help Liverpool rediscover their best form. The round of 16, it's Bundesliga opposition, but it's a game that takes place in Hungary. Round of 16, first leg, it's RB Leipzig against Liverpool from the Puskás Arena in Budapest from 8 o'clock tonight. Very good evening to you. Welcome along to the Matchday Live preview as the Reds resume on the road to Istanbul.
The trophy of the season and won by
Champions
Liverpool.
Of Europe, Liverpool for the second successive
It's well
year.
done, Liverpool. What a joyous sight. Another brilliant Liverpool
Liverpool
triumph.
have their hands on the European Cup again. Milner pulls it back, and Firmino scores! Shaqiri. Wijnaldum! Oh my goodness gracious me! The unthinkable! The unbelievable! And the header down and in! It is a towering lead! It is a glorious header! Wijnaldum! Mohamed Salah! It's Salah! Salah shot! Oh, would you believe it? Corner taken quickly, Origi!
To get you going on a Tuesday evening, shouldn't it? Alongside me, Gary Gillespie and Jason McAteer. Good evening to both of you.
How are you?
All right. Valentine's Day okay?
It went all right.
Yeah. Found some flowers at the petrol station, did you?
Last time I speak, you were stopped by a garden centre.
Mate.
I stopped it all as well. There was nothing left.
There was nothing left, so do you know what I bought? A Mother's Day card.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
I bought a Mother's Day card.
Nothing says I love you like Happy Mother's Day.
Thing is, she doesn't know it's from me, though, does she?
No.
That's the whole point.
Right.
So it was a Mother's Day card, and I put a big question mark in it as well.
So it said Happy Mother's Day or Happy Valentine's Day or
It said
nothing?
Happy Mother's Day.
All right.
I scribbled it out, put Valentine's.
Fantastic. The last of the great
It's
romantics,
the thought
aren't you?
that counts, Rob.
Well, I mean, I'm not so sure I'd think that if I got a Mother's Day card. But anyway, since Valentine's Day, Champions League is back, Gary. I mentioned it in the intro there that some people say, well, maybe change of competition might be a bit of a help to Liverpool. What do you reckon?
Well, possibly. I think any time you're struggling, I think it's a bit. It's a distraction, but it's a pleasant distraction. I think away from the rigours of the Premier League, where we have had like some adverse results in recent weeks. So in many ways, it could be a little bit of a break for us. But you still got to go out and play against a really good opposition in Leipzig, and the game won't be easy. I think we've seen enough of Liverpool's performances over the last couple of games, probably even more than that. Even going back to the likes of Manchester United in the Cup, you know, it's not all been like desperate measures. It's been some really good football in there as well. But to get a result and to go through in this competition, we will certainly have to be somewhere near our best over the two legs, not just this leg as well.
Gary said it there, that you're shaking your head, go on.
I'm not so sure. I think pressure's on. I think it's on big time. I think the fact the way we're playing, the moment we're in, the fact that the Premier League has been conceded, to be honest, I think we can all be realistic about that and just think we're not going to catch Manchester City. And obviously now, one of the other top of the other three places available for Champions League is now a priority. I just think, as much as we have a fantastic relationship with this competition, and it is a bit of a freshen up because of different opposition, it's a different competition, I still think Liverpool, having had the success they've had over the last 3 years, will feel like this is probably their only real opportunity of doing something big. And in that respect, I think the pressure is mounted for this game. And plus, it's a real big ask against this Leipzig side that are flying in the Bundesliga at the minute.
Yeah, but don't you think it's a different sort of pressure, though?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think it's away from the mundane kind of Premier League, everyone talking about it, are they going to beat so-and-so? They're now so many points behind. I do agree with you that, but I do think the pressure of having to win the match and go through to the next stage, I think is immense.
Is there something to be said even for the fact that, we've seen over probably the last 5 or 6 weeks that the questions are asked countless times, you're the defending champions, can you retain the title, are you going to be able to catch Manchester City? Well, all of that goes out the window and it just becomes about Liverpool and Leipzig over the course of 2 games.
Well, that certainly is. That's the nature of the competition. We're into the knockout stages, and you're going to get a result. There's always a finality about it. Like obviously the winner goes through. We got to this stage at the competition last season and got outplayed a little bit by Atletico. This will be equally as hard, I think. This opposition is probably, from an attacking point of view and a football point of view, probably ahead of Atletico. And in many ways, it could suit us the style that they play. It'll be more of a game of football than maybe against like where it was against Atletico. I thought it was a little bit of a war of attrition. So in many ways, I think it might help us. But you know, these are not third in the Premier League or second in the Bundesliga. For no reason. You know, they are decent.
Just to reflect back on the game against Leicester, we spoke a couple of times just after the signings of Ozan Kabak and Ben Davies about how easy it is for a central defender to slot back into a backline. I don't know whether we'll be able to see that second goal again, but is that just teething problems? The fact that there is no communication between the goalkeeper and Kabak and they end up clattering into each other and you get a goal?
It's lack of communication between the two, isn't it? I think that's sometimes what happens. I remember coming into the Liverpool side, my first game I scored an own goal, hit it against Phil Neal's backside, I think it was. You know, and I think that's going to happen. It was unfortunate at the time. We were raving about the free kick that nobody seems to have mentioned, but just before the actual incident. But sometimes that's exactly what happens when new players come in. I think you've got to look at Alisson as well after what he had in the Man City game. There was maybe that in the back of his mind, a little bit of doubt, more doubt than maybe what we've seen in the past, and it all led to a little bit of a total mix-up with his centre back. And as I say, these things happen.
And does it also tell you, Jason, that again, something we've touched on before in previous shows about brains maybe being a little bit fried at the moment, and that is a psychological thing that Alisson maybe thinks he has to come and do something that he doesn't necessarily do, and somewhere in the back of his mind, in his subconscious, he's thinking about those mistakes against Manchester City.
Yeah, sometimes it's easier said than done, putting mistakes behind you. Sometimes it does fester, especially when you're in this moment, you know, when it's costing you games. And the Manchester City, you know, them mistakes will be they're high profile, aren't they? Because everybody gets to see them. There's a lot of people watching, so it will be difficult. And then to go and make one straight after it's you know, will play on his mind. But you know, he's a big player. He's a big game player. He's, you know, arguably the best keeper in the world. He should know how to handle setbacks. It's not all about playing when it's going well and taking all applaud. It's when it's not going well, you've got to roll your sleeves up and sort of address it. And you know, I think they've got the mental state to do that. It was unfortunate. I think it was a misunderstanding. I also think as well, when you know a team has a lot of possession, sometimes the goalkeeper, and I felt David James was maybe guilty of this. You know, we had a lot of possession, and sometimes, you know, then we concede a corner, he'd feel he needed to do something when really he just let the centre halves deal with it. But sometimes because he's not been in the game, he feels he needs to come and catch it and make mistakes, and these things can take over. But yeah,
I played with a goalkeeper like that as well.
Did you?
I wonder who that might be. As I mentioned in the intro, it is this very strange COVID world that we live in. So tonight's game isn't taking place in Leipzig, but in Budapest. And there for us this evening is Mark Benstead.
Thanks, Rob. COVID-19 has impacted on our lives so much over the course of the last 12 months. It's impacted on football as well. And tonight it means that two sides from England and Germany play here in Hungary in the last 16 of the Champions League. That's because the public health situation in Germany meant Liverpool were refused permission to fly into the country, so it had to be staged at a neutral venue instead. The game will be played here at the Puskás Arena. It holds 67,000, or just over that, in normal circumstance, of course. That means little tonight because, again, we'll play without a crowd watching on. The task in hand for Liverpool will not be easy. RB Leipzig are second in the Bundesliga at the moment. They have the best defensive record in Germany's top flight. They don't score a lot of goals as a team. They have no one in double figures just now. Though Yusuf Poulsen is their top goal scorer with 9. Angelino, remember him, used to be at Manchester City, will be one to watch. He's a real danger playing out wide left if he starts tonight. The interesting storyline surrounding our opponents ahead of this game concerns their defender Adeo Upamecano. It was confirmed on Sunday he will join Bayern Munich in the summer. They met his buyout clause of £38 million. Interesting to see how that impacts on his performance tonight. If he plays, he was left out and left on the bench for their win against Augsburg on Friday night. In terms of Liverpool, of course, we come into this game on the back of a poor run of results, 3 consecutive defeats for the first time under Jurgen Klopp. But the manager is remaining positive. He wants us to build on the positive moments in our recent performances.
If you saw the game against Leicester, if you saw the game against City, these were not two games which you would imagine afterwards we conceded 7 and maybe scored 2 or whatever. So the games looked for a majority of the game time completely different. In our situation at the moment, the things finally go against us because we made individual mistakes. We have to play good football to win football games, and that's what we are working on. So the mood of the boys is absolutely okay. We had better mood, you can imagine, but it's absolutely okay, and we are ready, still ready for a real and a proper fight.
It's a new opportunity, a new challenge with another game. That's what a new game brings, you know, and we've got to go out there against a very good side, and we've got to be at 100% to even get anything from the game. So we know it's a big opportunity for us, and we're 100% ready to go and give absolutely everything in that 90 minutes to try and get a good result.
And you'll be able to hear more from Jurgen Klopp and from Jordan Henderson in Matchday Live a little bit later on. The first night of the round of 16 games in the Champions League. Let's just remind you of the draw for the last 16 of this competition. A couple of good ones tonight. RB Leipzig against Liverpool, obviously. And then this one looks tasty, doesn't it? Barcelona and Paris Saint-Germain also this week. Porto, Juventus and Sevilla against Borussia Dortmund. Next week, Atletico Madrid against Chelsea and Lazio Bayern, the holders, of course, on Tuesday. And then the following night, Atalanta against Real Madrid, who made heavy weather of getting out of their group. And then another game not taking place in Germany. In fact, at the same ground is Borussia Mönchengladbach against Manchester City. So, Jason, the American sports analyst company Gracenote makes Liverpool the 6th favourites for this tournament. What do you reckon?
I think it's wide open. I mean, me and Gary, I don't know if it was on air, we spoke about City doing a quadruple, or it was off air, but, you know, obviously Pep will have that in mind. But the one thing you feel Pep could slip up, which he has done in recent years, is obviously the Champions League. But I think if you just look across Europe and where all the winners of all the leagues last season, you know, Real Madrid, you know, languishing in La Liga, aren't they? Paris Saint-Germain aren't doing well. There's only Bayern Munich, I think, at top of their league, isn't it? And that's only by 4 points to Leipzig, although they've got a game round. Is it 5?
They drew last night, yeah. So
okay, they got, yeah. So, you know, no one's running away with the leagues. There's no standout teams. I think if you were looking at one team now to put money on, I'd definitely go with Manchester City, the form that they're in. Liverpool being 6th, I just think Liverpool are an unknown quantity at the minute. I think if, you know, we all want them to find this consistency that we know they've got, and if they find it, they could really go far in this league, but they've got to get over this tie first. Do
you think the empty stadiums we're going to see probably throughout this competition in the latter stages help the underdogs or help the big clubs?
Probably the underdogs. I think I made reference to the fact that the percentage of away wins in the Premier League this season is the highest it's ever been, and that has to have something to do with no crowds. I honestly believe that, and Liverpool probably, with the fervour that they created within that ground in Anfield, I think they'll probably suffer more than most. You know, a long time you think you want your away leg first and then your home leg to be the second leg, and that you know, you feel as if that gives you an advantage. I don't think it matters one jot these days with no crowd in, whether you're playing away from home or playing at home.
What do you expect from Leipzig then? As you said, second in the Bundesliga. They've got the second youngest squad in the Bundesliga as well, and a very young manager too, who probably was a fraction overawed the last time he met Liverpool with Hoffenheim a few years ago, but has obviously evolved himself as a coach since then. Yeah,
it's a nice side. Plot, isn't it? Sort of Klopp coming out and Nagelsmann, as you mentioned, 6-3, I think, on aggregate when Hoffenheim played, but he didn't really do himself justice. Listen, he is young, he does tinker. If he gets it right, these can be outstanding, but if he gets it wrong, they can be very, very average. Listen, they've had some fantastic results this season. You know, they've beaten Paris Saint-Germain, they knocked Manchester United out, obviously, at the group stage. I mentioned the Paris Saint-Germain result. They did have 2 men sent off, but they've, you know, knocked Tottenham out last season in this league. They got to the semi-final. They've grown as a club. He's kept the players together, although the centre-half who we were linked with, Upamecano, he's just signed for Bayern Munich at the end of the season, hasn't he? So they lose him, but he's a fantastic coach, part of this German revolution, isn't he? And I think if you look at how well they've done, you know, 4 of the teams that were in the semi-finals last year, the Champions League, 3 of the coaches were German. The team that won it before, the coach was German. It was obviously Jurgen Klopp. So there's a real resurgence of German coaches. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see him in the Premier League in the next few seasons. Although RB Leipzig do have a few quick behind him and might entice him to stay and let him build what he's doing there. But it could be a tough night for Liverpool. This.
Final point then, given what we said about home advantage there, do you think Liverpool would take a draw in this first leg and be happy to bring it to a one-off game at Anfield for the second leg?
Yeah, I think it would be. I mean, I don't think the second leg has been finalised yet, whether it's going to be at Anfield or whether it'll be a neutral venue. So I think a draw. Look, I think ideally you want to go there and put a performance on, get a result. If it's a draw, well, so be it. And then, you know, the game is obviously decided in the next leg, and then it's winner takes all then. But a 0-0 is a good result. 1-1 is even better. But I'm sure Liverpool will be going into this game thinking positively and thinking about getting the win. And that's the way that they've attacked most games, and it stood them in good stead, not just in this competition but overall. So I think that they'll go there positively and look for to win the game.
Gareth just spoke about goals there. This obviously is played in a neutral ground, and it's their home game, isn't it? Mm-hmm. What I would say is away goals. I just think it's poor. I just think why? How does that work?
Well, I mean, you wonder about the reasoning as to why it's two legs. Obviously, it probably rhymes with honey, doesn't it? But there we go. On that note, we shall probably leave it before we all lose our jobs. Anyway, we are back on TV and on the move on LFC TV Go as well. At 7 o'clock, more from Klopp, more from Henderson, more from Julian Nagelsmann as well. We shall see you a little bit later on. Bye for now.